Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, March 15th, 2013. Well, the stock market has been hitting high after high, day after day this past week, so the economy must be fixed, right? Happy days are here again? Wrong. Listen, I've been watching the mainstream media and watching all the coverage of this day after day, new high on the S&P, new high on the Dow, and there's hardly a mention of the enormous money printing by the Fed. I mean, that's what's underpinning the economy. That's what's underpinning the markets and holding these interest rates down. It's $40 billion a month to buy the fraud and mistakes of bankers and mortgage-backed securities, and $45 billion each and every month. This is open-ended, folks. That's what the Fed says. $45 billion a month equaling $85 billion each and every month the Fed is putting out. And this is going to, well, things get better or infinity, whichever comes first. Now, there's another story out there that says, hey, the banks are buying their own stocks back. Where do they get the money? Do you think it might be coming from the $40 billion a month that the Fed is paying to the banks to buy their sour debt, the mistakes of bankers? Yeah, I think so. Well, the Fed money printing is propping up the economy. How do I know that? Well, they can't stop it. If they did, the economy would implode. Interest rates would spike. Here, how about this question at the Senate hearing, the hearings that they had with Ben Bernanke? And they should have asked him a couple of these questions. Number one, Mr. Bernanke, we would like not to cut spending. This would be coming from maybe a Democrat. We would like to not cut spending. So can we please take just 2 months of that banker bailout, $80 billion a month, and we wouldn't have to cut hardly anything at all. Just 2 months and divert it to spending for these programs that we say we really need for the economy. You think he'd do that? No. Why? Because he's bailing out the banks. They need to be supported. How about we just take 1 month, $85 billion, and divert it so we don't have to have any spending at all? Could we do that? No. Why not? Because interest rates would spike and the economy would implode. Period. The end. Here's another question they should ask the Fed chief. Excuse me, Mr. Bernanke, could you please tell me to which banks you're giving this $40 billion a month to buy their sour mortgage debt? I guarantee you he wouldn't answer. Why? Because he'd be afraid of a run on those banks. And I have to hand it to the New York Post. Check this out. Here's the headline they came up with. Now, things are getting bad when a mainstream media outlet comes up with a headline that says, a bull beep market. And it says right there that basically Fed's money printing is, it's a disconnect from the economy. Look, he's got a matador, little outfit on. They photoshopped his head on there. And it says that basically that, the Fed-fueled rally is a disconnect from the economy. Now, you think about this. We're hitting all-time highs on the stock market, and we're hitting all-time record highs with people on food stamps. I mean, more than 47 million people, 1 in 6 in this country, on food stamps. That's unbelievable. Really, quite unbelievable. I love this headline down here, too. This is another headline, too, that talks about how there's $238 trillion in U.S. liabilities, unfunded liabilities. We're talking about Medicaid and Medicare and the banker bailouts and $238 trillion. Lawrence Kotlikoff at Boston University pegs it at about, $222 trillion. Well, it's a big number. It's a huge number. There's no way we're ever going to pay that bill. There's no way we're ever going to cover those costs. Next story, President Obama is warning that Iran could have a nuclear weapon within a year, and he also warned, and I quote, we don't want to cut this thing too close. Now, that's a definite hint that we could be at war if the Iranians don't knuckle under with their nuclear program. We could be at war with the Iranians within a year. That is a bit frightening and really not covered much on the mainstream media. Now, Iran is not going to be like Iraq. Can the U.S. military defeat Iran? Yes. Is it going to be messy and a global disaster and ugly? You betcha. Iran is not Iraq. And they've been getting ready for this, I would probably bet, since the very first time we went into Iraq and invaded them. For sure they've been getting ready because, you know, we went into Iraq on their eastern border and Afghanistan on their western border. So that would make them a little nervous, wouldn't it? Yeah. It'll be a global disaster if no matter who fires the first shot. Democratic Senator Patty Murray has come up with a budget, and it only calls for, an increase of 62% in spending over the next 10 years, like $162 billion in next year's budget alone of more spending. What part of unsustainable do they not get? That's completely and totally, Simpson-Bowles, the bipartisan commission, the debt reduction commission, came up with $4 trillion in tax increases and spending cuts. They were wanting spending cuts and more spending cuts and tax increases. That's $4 trillion. That only slowed the growth of government. Hey, we're going to turbocharge it. It's going to be 62% higher in just 10 years. It's absolutely unbelievable. Congress is living in a fairy tale world. And I contend that they won't reach a deal, no matter what this love fist is. President Obama taking out these Republican, senators, and that he has a charm offensive. I don't care what he does. I don't care what the Democrats or Republicans do. I don't think either side will agree on the amount of tax increases or the amount of spending cuts that each side wants, and they will continue the blame game theater, that's what I call it, the blame game theater, until the economy eventually implodes. And take note of this, I've saved the best for last not least, that you think we can continue to borrow and spend money and print money? Well, the world is holding, basically the Asian world mostly, and the world is holding a global sustainable currency summit, a global sustainable currency summit in China in September, at the end of the month. You know what the theme is? Let me read it to you. And this is their theme on their website. You can find it on my site. The theme is From Money Chaos to Global Currency. Let that sink in. From money chaos to global currency. Where do you think this will leave the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency after they get done implementing their plans? They have a plan. Russia is buying gold and doesn't let out any of their gold supply, their money supply. China, the same thing, buying gold, not letting any of their money supply. India, buying gold. Mexico, buying gold. Korea, buying gold. Brazil, buying gold. Everybody's buying gold. Why? Because gold is going to come back into the monetary system. That's what all the central banks are signaling. That's what people like Jim Sinclair is saying. That's what other people, Jim Willey, experts, these are all learned people, market experts. Gold's coming back into the monetary system. You can't continue to print little slips of paper and buy oil and tennis shoes and electronics from the world without somebody saying, hey, whoa, wait a minute, you got to pay us in something real. That's going to be a sad day for the dollar, and most Americans are going to be blindsided by this. If we don't fix this problem, the world's going to fix the problem. And what they're going to do, they're going to do the same thing that happened to Detroit. Detroit has $14 billion in bond debt. You think they can sell any more bonds? Print money. You think they can print any more money? They're under. They become a ward of the state of Michigan. You think Detroit can print any more bonds, sell any more of their bonds? No, they're done. No. And that's the tip of the iceberg for America. And the world is going to call BS on the BS eventually. That's the way I see it. I want to thank everybody for clicking on ads and the few people that touched the donation button and helped us out. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for supporting USA Watchdog. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter.